Hello, my name's Lincoln Snyder. I am a graduate student in the German department at Georgetown University, and I'm going to Norway. I'm posting this video about a project I call the 9-day sprint. I am going to see how much Norwegian I can learn during a 9-day immersion program in Bergen, Norway. I chose this because I am studying study abroad programs right now as part of my overall work at Georgetown, and in particular, as part of my dissertation research, I just took a wonderful study abroad seminar with Professors Sands and Morales Front, and the project you're going to see is an outcome of that. So this is something that started off as an idea that's definitely turned into quite its own thing. But during the next few minutes, I'm going to be sharing with you what my plans are for attacking the language of Norwegian and figuring out how I can take what I already know and really learn as much as possible in a very short stay during a short-term study abroad. So without further ado, I am going to share my screen and walk you through a quick presentation. So I am calling the project the 9-day sprint, and the question is, how much Norwegian can a person learn in a week? This is a high intensity study abroad intervention. Um, a few things about what's special about this project. So I am an experienced language learner. I've done study abroad before. It's a big area of research focus for me. So this is a very tailored project. I am going to be looking at some really special things during this, in particular focusing on things like learner agency. I'm going to be focusing on journaling as a major area of research, and then also trying to take advantage of my own linguistic resources and then the things I've learned during the class about how to hack learning a language that's related to other languages you already know. So who am I? I am a 48-year-old PhD student at Georgetown. I've already had a career in teaching and academic administration. I do have experience with study abroad programs. I studied in a summer program in Trier, Germany in 1997, and I was there again in 2025 this past year as a research exchange student. I interned in 1997 in Bavaria for a company called Siemens and spent 2 semesters in Vienna, Austria. I've also learned Polish more or less by moving to Poland and after only 2 semesters at university, really digging into the language via the sink or swim method. I've learned a lot of other West Germanic languages, in particular Dutch, Yiddish, and Pennsylvania Dutch. I can kind of fake Afrikaans. We speak Polish at home. I speak some pretty rusty Spanish, but I don't know any Scandinavian languages. And so I am particularly interested in seeing what is going to be transferable. Norwegian and English split something like 2,000 years ago. So there are common roots, but they're not all that close. A lot of words have moved back and forth, other ones have come back in. And as you're going to see, there's a lot of words that are cognate. So really, Norwegian is in many ways a best case language for a learner, but in other ways, it has its own challenges. So the program I'm going to be doing is a week-long immersion course in Bokmål Norwegian. I'm going to have 30 hours of formal instruction next week via a company called New to Norway. They focus on adult education. One of the reasons that they are necessary and successful is that Norway requires a citizenship test with a language component for people that move to the country or people that want to become residents. And so, although this is adult ed in its own way, for a lot of people learning Norwegian, it's very high stakes. So that gives it an additional focus for the adults that are learners. There's not going to be a homestay component. Won't be staying with a family. Had to rent my own Airbnb. And I'll be in country for a total of 9 days, 5 of which will have direct instruction. So there's a few things I really want to try to accomplish during my first week of learning Norwegian. I'm going to be focusing on oral fluency and flow. We talk about fluency over accuracy. This is a big part of what I want to do is just simply get to speaking the language right away. I'm going to be focusing on pragmatic things, how to converse on the street, how to function in society, how to uh, engage with people and start conversations and small talk. I'm going to have a special bit of attention to Norwegian phonology. Norwegian is an interesting language in that it's got 18 different vowel sounds, it's got a couple of glottal stops, and it also has tones, which is very unique for a Germanic language. So, paying attention to getting the tones, the accent, the phonology of Norwegian, right, is a big part of what I want to establish during that first week. And then finally, I have a goal of learning 1,000 words during the first week, which is a lot. If you can learn 1,000 words, you already know 80% of the words used during everyday speech by volume. But in many ways, because Norwegian is so closely related to English, this isn't learning 1,000 words from scratch. I have a hack, and I'll talk about that in a moment. So as I said, I'll have a weekend to prepare. I'm flying out tonight, Friday, going to spend the weekend getting ready, getting used to the city, prepping my materials, and starting to learn. 5 days of learning in the classroom plus time afterward. It's a site-based and task-based course, so apparently we're going to be going into town and learning by doing. But as far as the actual curriculum of the class itself goes, I don't really know anything. I don't have the book. I know the general principles, but that's all going to be essentially a surprise for me when I show up, how exactly they go about it. Sounds really interesting, but we'll see. And then finally, I'll have a weekend after the 5 days of instruction to consolidate my notes, write my reports, and share back out with you and everyone else about what I've learned. So as I said, I'm really looking at focusing on the practical. I'm going to be using a number of different resources to help me do this. I will be bringing some books with me, both textbooks that are designed for college, like Set Igang, as well as other books that I've just bought from Amazon and other stores. I'll be getting into those a little bit more in shorter videos during the week. I'm going to be using some language learning apps like Link and Closemaster in Norwegian Class 101. And I'm going to be consuming as much Norwegian media as possible while I am there as well. I just really want to immerse myself in the sounds of the language as much as possible all the time. So as far as learning these 1,000 words, it's a really big goal. But what I've learned about Norwegian is I've gone through this list of 1,000 words. The majority of them have a relationship or cognate with another word in English, German, or Dutch. Mostly those Germanic languages have some sort of bridge from the word I'm trying to learn and then a word I already know. And so my strategy on this is immediate activation. I really don't have to learn 1,000 words. I do have to figure out how to port over words that are related to other words I already know. I've been using Excel spreadsheets to organize this. So looking at frequency words and then looking at the relationship of these words to words I already know. So when I jump into it, I know that what I can do is try to port over uh, what I already kind of know, what are close cognates, and then spend more time really hitting those words that are not related to things that I already know. Some things are just going to be tough and have to be memorized, and so I know that I'm going to have to be pretty focused on drilling those. But generally, I think it should go pretty quickly. At the end, I'm going to measure and see how many words I actually learn. So this is my 1,000 word challenge. Stay tuned. A major focus of this project is I'm going to be journaling. I've come up with a guided journal where I'm going to be taking notes every single night. I'm actually going to be writing for about an hour a day, reflecting on what I've learned and what I can do next. A lot of research has been done on journaling. It's a fantastic way to support your learning when you're on a study abroad. Writing about your experiences and noting things about the language and your relationship with the language in the field is a really important thing to do when you're trying to learn a new language. My patron saint for the whole project is a gentleman named Richard Schmidt, who passed away in 2017. He was a diplomat that went on to become an applied linguist, worked at the University of Hawaii in Manoa, and he had a really interesting hypothesis that he called the noticing hypothesis. So what he figured is that when you go to a country, you're getting all this input, right? But you can only figure things out gradually. And so once you notice a phenomenon in the language, then you can go on to learn it. And so it's like you won't pick things up until suddenly, boom, oh, well, I've been hearing that the whole time, but I only noticed it just now. And so the driving force behind this is conscious attention to what's going on as you're going about learning the language. The reason this is really important is we all learn bad habits really early on when we're trying to learn languages. And people who know other languages and are borrowing from those languages structures to learn the new language can borrow the wrong things or make the wrong assumptions. So Schmidt had a lot about making sure that you're noticing and then can learn as you're in zone of proximal development. So the journal I'm going to be keeping is one that reflects the fact that I know other languages. It's going to be an analytical tool. I'm going to be looking at negative evidence, things that I got wrong. It's going to be cross-linguistic and looking how I map some things to other things. I'm going to be very technical with the things that I'm looking for, and I'm going to spend a lot of time on it, about an hour a day. If you're a novice learner, this is not the way that you go about journaling. So say a college sophomore who's doing his or her first study abroad in Trier, Germany, and they are at the intermediate or advanced level of German. This is not the kind of journal that we should be assigning those kinds of learners. We know that journaling is a really important emotional anchor for people who are abroad for the first time and processing that. We also know that for learners, to keep them encouraged, we have to focus on positive evidence, help them reflect on what they got right and build on that. We know that if you're a monolingual learning your second language at this level for the first time, it's really important to map from what you know in your L1 to what you're trying to learn in your L2. And we really want to make sure that we're focusing on understanding and being understood and not getting too technical with accent and pronunciation. Finally, a novice learner would be writing for something like 20 minutes in my best estimation, not an hour. It's really easy to burn out when you assign too much. So my methodology, again, is really very much a polyglot journal, but I'm hoping to learn about things that could help students who are maybe on their first study abroad experience at a younger age. I'm going to be taking all of my notes via a Google form, and so everything will be documented. I'm looking at 14 prompts across 4 sections, looking at things like what I call linguistic engineering, which is instruction and lexicon and phonology. I'm going to be looking at pragmatic and interactional analysis. I'm going to be looking at to diagnose inputs and how I'm integrating things that I learn in the course to how I take input and then respond in the field. And then finally, the intercultural piece is really important. I really want to make sure that I'm aware of how I'm functioning in Norwegian society as a new learner and interacting with people, and then plan the next day, and then ultimately plan my future learning of Norwegian. So that's it in a nutshell. I'm going to be really busy for 9 days. At the end of it, I'm going to take my notes. I'm going to assess how many words I've really learned. I'm going to look at my CEFR, in other words, the how much what level at Norwegian I would test at a, standardized test, and then I really want to take stock of how I've done in applying what I learned in class in the wild and trying to interact with the locals in Bergen. So ultimately, when all this is over, I'm going to be doing another one of these videos presenting to you what I learned, how much I learned, and then what I want to learn next. That's the me part, but more importantly, I'm really interested in what this project can teach me and us about what we can do for other learners in the future too. So thank you so much for joining me on this presentation. I'll be posting more shorter videos explaining the different aspects of this as I go along. Thank you so much, and I'll see you at the airport.